get started, I do want to just say welcome to Stan. And Stan, as all of you know, as I talked to all of you last week, week before when I was going on vacation, Stan's going to take over Jeff's role. Jeff, congratulations. He's running the County Board of Supervisors for us now. So it's nice to have those people with us and on our board, people that we know care about our community. And this board runs really, really well, as we said to Stan. And we actually, just so this board knows before we get going, we've started to emulate exactly what this board does from a process standpoint across the DCC and Commerce Schenectady, because we think that, this board runs very efficiently, and we're going to start to run those boards very similarly. So Stan, welcome, and Jeff, thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, you guys also know, does not want to be the president anymore. He's spread too thin on too many boards. He wants to stay on the IDA board. I've asked Mike Corey, suspiciously absent, if you would consider being the chair of this board, and he chose not to come today, but he's considering it. So if any of you guys know, he's got the history and the time here, he's got the passion for it, he cares. And so if you guys see him and talk to him, he'd be good. It runs well. Jenna and the team do the majority of the setup for the agendas, and we go back to him, but it's an important role because Brian did a great job of holding us and everybody who came through here accountable, like all that stuff. He made sure he was buttoned up. And so and Michael did the same thing. So we just need somebody like that for this job. All right, it's 8 o'clock. Pete, if you call it to order, I'll run us through everything after that. If you'd like, Brian asked me to do that just because we've gone through the agenda, and it's a very light agenda, so it shouldn't take us too much time.
We'll call the meeting to order. We'll call ourselves in.
Zeno here.
Ryan here.
All present.
Woodford here.
Raymond here. Reading of the mission statement. It is the mission of the Shenango County Industrial Development Agency to advance the health, prosperity, welfare of the county's citizens by helping to retain, create, and attract businesses through appropriate investments and incentives. Approval of the minutes, December 18th.
I think we have a quorum because Martha was here. Who was here? Taylor, were you here? Yep, so we have 4 out of RC was here, 4 out of 7. So yeah, we can approve them.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we'll vote.
Zeno, aye.
Brian, I.
Only I was funny.
Yeah, he
PK.
abstained.
Yeah, we should abstain.
Good call.
And I wasn't here, so.
You weren't here. We can't vote on it. Then we don't have a quorum. We'll have to wait. I apologize, Pete. I did not know you were 4 out of 7. And so we'll put that aside. We can go through the financial report, but we can't approve that either just because of the quorum. If you want to go to the 4th page, you'll see the financial report is included. I'll have Kathy Joe walk us through it in case there's any questions. But it's again, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Go ahead, Kathy Joe.
Okay, page 1 of the statement, financial position. The Intrafi account ended with $1,005,000. And then the net activity for the year is $290,000. Page 2 with the aged receivables, and then also with the financing leases. Those entries will be done when the auditors start the books.
So not to be too simplistic, but we're in good shape. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to start to continue to focus on our income, and that's something that, again, if this Bainbridge pilot program goes through the Payne Solar program, income will take care of itself. And so it's interesting, just so you guys know, as a related note, we had a solar company out of Colony up in Albany joined the chamber yesterday. So it's a solar energy company online, filled out an application form. I don't know why. It's interesting. The prospecting must be interesting in the area. But just as an aside, we know we need to look at our income. Another avenue of potential income we're considering, you guys know we own the Cottage Bakery building, we being the Development Shenango Corporation, and we're trying to figure out whether or not we should move into that building. And what the relationship should be, who owns it, how the rent would be generated between Commerce, IDA, DCC, but we know there's a way to be more cost effective, and we're considering that as well. Go ahead, Kathy Jim, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Page 3 for aged payables. I did the 5% of the project fees to DCC for the year, and that was almost a little under $16,000. And then, page 4 of the same activities, the interest income for December was 4,600. And so December ended in a negative 30,000, but year to date, the net activity was 290,000. Oh, and also on page 5 for bank fees, I was not aware, but there is a $10 monthly fee for the IntraFi account now. So
And Kathy Jo, is that right? We pay bid $250 a year. So
Yes.
we as Commerce Schmengo are a member of bid. So I'm the business improvement district. Is it,
You have property.
no, it's property.
we have property.
If that's tax exempt, so you pay $250 a
Okay.
year.
Well, I'm
Yes.
just trying to figure out, like, are we a member of bid? Like, do we get to go to those meetings and participate in those meetings, things like that? It's okay, I'll figure that out. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's, and the lower board.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what that, I'm trying to understand that organization and how we all work together and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the membership is driven.
Me either, so that's what I mean, because I'm not sure, they kind of operate like a little bit like a chamber, you know what I mean? And I'm just trying to figure out how to, if I'm part of that, I can go be part of that and figure just how to work with them, that's all.
They have the authority to levy dollars.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll actually get a property tax bill for $255.
Yeah, they have a lot of authority if you go look at, they can change traffic patterns, they can do a lot of different things within the city. As Eric knows, I've gone through their charter by municipal law. They have the right to do a lot of different things that they don't need approval from the council for. So we could effectively use them in certain instances if I knew how to, actually, if we knew how to. And I'm trying to figure that out now that I know we're a member.
So that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Again, I'll summarize, we're in really good shape. We just need to figure out- we need to continue to focus on our income and things like that. We would approve these now, but we don't have anybody there. For my executive director's report, I'm gonna keep it as simple as I can. Go ahead. We don't have.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we can now. Yes, Ms. Stan's here. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
So motion to approve,
Second.
we'll vote.
Zeno, I.
Ryan, I.
Woodford, aye.
Aaron,
Okay, that's it. The executive director's report is pretty simple, because I'm going to send it out to you guys. We're working on it right now. I'm gonna send you what our initiatives are for next year, but they won't change. We have 4 strategic objectives that will always be the same. And it's going to make sure we have a high-performing and sustainable organization, that we're a catalyst for workforce development, that we act as a catalyst for economic development, and that we make sure this is the kind of place where people want to live, work, and visit. Right? And then we're going to put objectives under each of those. And you can't have, there's only 5 of us. You can't have more than 2 or 3 under all of them and talk about how they're going, what they're going to be. I can summarize them now, but I won't. I'll send them out to you, and then you all will get feedback. Jeff, as you know, as the head of the County Board of Supervisors, and we'll have a seat on the Commerce Board, as will the head of this board. So we'll have multiple people that will have representation on that board that will give you feedback on what our objectives are. But this is a third of what my role is, and I think you guys should get a bite at that apple too. So, but they won't change. Our strategic objectives will always be those 4 things. What we do to drive them, our biggest one for workforce development, I will tell you guys, is going to be to continue to work with our schools on trying to figure out how to develop this badging system. I believe we can get kids credentials like they do at the college level. We can do that at the high school level, and I'm going to give you as simple as I can possibly do that. If we could develop a micro credential that mirrored the banking customer service role that you have to go to for MET Visions or Sydney Federal Credit Union, that they have to do to be a retail banker, MET will give them a trial right now. So how do we take that 6-week training that you or I would all have to go through and do it over the course of a semester at school? And do that in conjunction with what we're calling necessary skills. Those things, what it means to be a professional. Work is at 8 o'clock, that's not work at 8 o'clock. You don't show up at 8 o'clock, they can go. All those things that we want to talk about, we're working with BOCES and Morrisville. That'll be our primary. Economic development, we're going to talk about things like, infrastructure. We want to figure out how we get broadband.
That's one question.
Yes, please.
Talk about doing that in the schools for the banking or any other trade.
Any of them, you name them.
Are we doing that school-wide though?
Right.
Because we do that now in some cases, but it's for individuals.
You're exactly right.
I'd like to see it done countywide.
So just so you guys know, and I'll talk about this in depth when we get into our, we're doing that. So I would invite any of you to attend our superintendent summits. We meet quarterly, and yes, Stan, it only works if you have everybody. So I think it needs to be we all think it needs to be centralized in Morrisville or BOCES, because there's already a centralized, Mike Rulo is on it. Mike Rulo already has a thing called career destinations where some people are taking advantage of it. There's only 3 schools in the county right now that are taking advantage of this career destinations program where they actually are teaching these types of skills. So how do we embed this? And then how do we utilize Morrisville? Because it shouldn't be either you take these classes and go to work, or you take these other credentials and you go to college. It should be you could take either and do either, right? So if you have these credentials, I'll give you another one. Material movement, we call it distribution. Every company that makes something moves something. So if you could teach kids a micro-credential, and I'm not making this up, I brought my friends that I used to work with at ACO that work for Carey Bio in here, and they said if a kid was OSHA certified, APIC certified, knew how to work a pallet jack, lift correctly, had all those necessary skills, promise I'll give them a 90-day trial, Sal. And we'll make them pass a test. And you know who sets up the test, the mastery? The businesses. They tell you what the test should be. So when they're done, they've proven that they can pass that test. Now, if Carey Bio and Raymond and Alvagen sign up to help us create the mastery for that, well, you better sign up to give those kids a chance. And so if you're busting them to BOCES for work there with their CTE, I think it's called, Martha, or you're busing them to Morrisville for their new visions, why not just offer these credentials in both locations so kids can cross-pollinate, right? That's going to be a primary focus for our workforce development. Jenna's also working on, well, you're going to hear about Women's Leadership Conference that's coming up in March. We have our mentorship program that we do through BOCES, and then we have Leadership Shenango. Those are all workforce development, right? It's about keeping, retaining, and developing workforce here. And so you start in the schools and you try to keep your young women. It's also interrelated to things like getting a daycare center, right? If you don't have a daycare center, how do you get the right workforce here, right? That's related to economic development. So you're going to see part of these things that are all related. Economic development's more around infrastructure. I'm meeting at 9:00 with the people at Alvagen. If I keep talking, I'll be late for that meeting, about this Arcadia Energy and how do we incorporate that. We're trying to meet with, Shane's trying to set up a meeting with Chobani to talk about how we can use their waste to create alternative. But that's more centered around our economic development. And really what I'm trying to do there is learn from places like Albany and Binghamton and other places about how to catch the draft from Micron and this battery tech. We signed up to be part of a group in the Southern Tier 8 with the 8 counties. The Southern Tier was just named a recipient of this Clean Tech Battery Hub Center through Binghamton University. $88 billion of investment to create battery storage and hubs because of all the electricity needs that are going to be prescribed by the state. How do we catch some of that draft? They can't all live in Binghamton. There's 60,000 jobs associated with Micron. Can't all live in Onondaga County. U.S. Silicon Trading, they're coming here for the next couple of weeks to visit the site. That's directly related to Micron. They anticipate building there, and they want to be close. They don't want to be right in the middle of it, too expensive. They want to be here to supply those building sources. Taylor, they want to meet you too because they make their plastics go into paint. I think Golden's could be a really good source for some of the stuff they do. But so those will be the areas that we focus on. Make sure this is the kind of place you want to live and visit, and for sure, we're going to be focused on our tourism activities and how do we advertise those things. And the thing that we're going to be advertising, exporting more than anything else, are our natural resources. Meeting later this week with Mike Flanagan, trying to create, you guys have heard this, Rails to Trails. You've been in here as part of that. You know, I think the waterway, we're one of the only counties that doesn't have an exploited waterway, commercialized waterway going through. That doesn't make sense to me. So we've actually got Mike to help us with Labella. They've done a lot of work on these rails to trails, and they've done a lot of work on creating recreational waterways, things like on the Erie Canal that you can see now where they've created centers of places. And we met with Mark Molinaro when he was here last month, and he did a big project down in Dutchess County. And he said, you don't try to boil the ocean and go from Binghamton to Utica because you've got 4 counties involved. You start with significant project in the center and you push out. You find, so here's the one that I think is a great idea, but we'll see where it falls. I think like Weiler Park, underutilized asset, 40 acres of wetlands back there. Wouldn't that make a really cool recreational area, a place where you keep hearing me talk about, we could put campers on the water, you could have disc golf, Matt could have his bump park back there. We could repurpose that property into a beautiful centralized recreational area, and it connects all the way to the greenway and to the rails to trails and to the river. And how would you blow that up? And we don't, you know what else we don't have? Just look around. What don't we have? You've all heard me talk about this splash pad. We don't have one. An unmanned place where kids could just be turned loose and parents could watch them. Well, you got a park in Weiler Park where you got a beautiful little kids area right there and a basketball court. Just move the basketball. Asphalt can go anywhere. Bump your park and go right there. Oh, by the way, that railway right there that runs right there, it's 200 yards from there to Rexford Street. What a beautiful place you could light up and create your path to the museum district, right? So, and just to show what you can do. And Molinaro has said he'd help us figure out how to get grants to figure out how to do that, because there's waterway grants through the U.S. Agricultural Department. I don't profess to know how to do it, but the two guys at the back wall hopefully can help us figure out how to do it. So those are going to be some of the things and then we're going to try, but we don't need to boil the ocean. You guys have seen the commercials on the snowmobiling, the commercials on the hunting. We're going to do commercials on, you know what people like about riding bikes up here? They like those gravel paths on all the state land because they can hear cars coming, right? So we're going to exploit that. We have 70,000 acres of state land that are open for bikes, and we're going to show the fat tires and the fat Nango races. So we're going to try to get this is like a surround sound thing. And then of course we've got to also, just so you know, now it's related to the IDA, we've got to create value for our chamber members. And so we have to be able to go out and, without our chamber members, we don't have a chamber, we don't have the ability. So we have to go out and act like traditional chamber and promote our businesses. And how do you know? One of the things that we've done this year is gone out and talked about some of the things that we've done, adding 71 new members last year. We had 71 new members, 247 members, 71 of them are brand new. We cleaned up all kinds of bad debt. We improved upon all kinds of financial processes that are going on here. And we've had, last year we raised about $38,000 in funding to sponsor our events, things that we do. So we don't have to tap into the county money, things that we want to do like the galas and things like that to try to generate value for them. And this year we've gone out to solicit. We've already had $67,000 worth of commitments, and we haven't heard from several that committed to us. So our members, NICEAG just signed up, Walmart just signed up. So we are trying to create value. People can see that we're visible by doing things like writing articles in the paper about our businesses and just really trying to go out there and let people know this is a great place to live and work, right? And if you want to focus on things that are not the best, then tell me what you want to do about it. But if you really want to talk about the things that are positive here, there's plenty of them to talk about. So, and I know I sound like a cheerleader, but you know what? In this job, you have to be. So, and I genuinely believe it. So this is, by definition, this is the best place you can live and work. Think about it, right? If not, you live someplace else. If you could live someplace else, I don't give a crap. It's because your parents are here, your family's here, by definition. So don't complain about it, make it better. And that's what I think Commerce Shenango's job is. That's my executive report for the year. I'll give you my summaries in greater detail later. Yes.
Can we go back to bills and invoices?
Please.
They need to be approved.
Oh, I didn't know
And-
that.
Yep,
Thank
that's,
you.
the commerce contract is a little more in December because there was 3 payrolls. And then the town of Bainbridge, that is the taxes on the Everything Bakery building.
So motion to approve bills and invoices.
So moved.
Second.
We'll vote.
Zeno, I.
Ryan, I.
Bullseye.
Woodford, aye.
Raymond, aye.
Okay, I'm done now.
That's okay. Thank you for keeping us on track. The pilots, we originally thought we were going to have a presentation. You guys know that we're here. We have O'Reilly Brothers come in and make a presentation. They requested a pilot for their hotel building across the street. We had given them a couple of examples of pilots that were within our UTIP and or were examples that had been given to us by Steve Harris that were examples of pilots in Madison County for similar projects, hotel projects, similar size, similar number of rooms. They were, when we informed them in order to proceed, we needed more formal financial documents in order for us to consider that. They've met a couple times, and Eric Scrivener is going to give us a little bit of an update, because it's also related to not only the DRI and the pilot, but it's also related to a grant that the city has obtained in that project's name. It's actually to the city to support that project. So it's all kind of related, and they're meeting on it. And Jenna has been engaged to make sure we're informed. I've been not as engaged in it intentionally, because we own the building. So we have, if they don't buy the building, it reverts back to us. So we have a vested interest in it from a different perspective, right? So trying to stay relatively neutral on how it goes, right? I support this project completely, because if we don't, we jeopardize $10 million worth of investment, and we need a nice hotel in this area. There's no question about it, right? But it needs to be done appropriately and properly. And to get the pilot, we need more information. Where are things now?
There's two things holding it up. The first thing being the actual sale of property. I haven't had an update. That is.
I don't know. I don't have any update. I'm gonna call Adam Spence. You reach out to Adam Spence today. I need to see a purchase offer on that property. And as long as we have a signed purchase offer, I think we can proceed with the pilot.
So as Sal mentioned, there's two funding sources. The first one being the DRI, which that's waiting. I don't think Restore New York is $2 million that the city is investing in this project. Until that is transferred, they will not give us our incentive proposal, which is essentially the contract, until it's in their name. And really, it's the same thing that's holding up the DRI. Empire State Development, the agency that is overseeing this grant, they have agreed to give a draft incentive proposal to Principal Design Engineering, which they can then take the NDT to work on getting a formal letter of financing. So it's been a little bit of back and forth. They've been in kind of this draft mode of everything, which has held up both the state and NBT. We're hopeful this moves forward this month, that they will have community financing at that point. And yeah, the transfer will take place, and then we'll have an official contract with the state on the city side. And that'll help things move forward.
Yeah, and thank you. So right now, just an update, continue to move forward. They'll come back to us when they need to. There is some urgency on my perspective, just so everybody knows with that purchase offer, because it goes on the tax rolls in March.
Yeah.
So it needs to either be, and I know we can prorate things and blah, 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 but you know what? I'd rather not be on the hook for another $1,100, because I think that'll go to about 13 grand a year that we'll be on the hook for. So I'd like to get that all cleaned up in February if we can. And the rest of the DRI, just as a quick update, you guys should know we had $700-something thousand worth of applications for our small projects grants up and down. We only had $340,000 worth of assigned money to support that one project, at least one project that Colonial had decided not to go through. Now we've got another one. Rita's is not going through. The biggest reason some of the smaller projects, and these are $170,000 for the Colonial, I think, and $140,000, I think, for Rita's, ballpark, close enough. But the problem that they're having is that there's so many requirements from the state, specifically around getting the minority or women-owned businesses, that they have to go outside the local area for contractors. And outside the local area for contractors means you've got a reduced number of people that you can go to, and it's more expensive. And so literally Rich Barnes says to me, I can do the work myself, Sal. And you know, so I gotta put 500 grand up to potentially get 250. And if I don't do everything exactly right, I don't get the 250 when I know I can do the work for 250. So you know what, I might as well do it and use all my friends. And so, but when you get to a project like the hotel, you can't. It's millions of dollars, right? You can't, project's too big. So there's nobody local that can do those projects, right? So a guy like Adam Spence, but those projects need that. But these smaller projects, and again, we're not alone. And I would say I would go back and talk. We've learned a lot about this. We've seen other DRIs that have had these same challenges. And I will say this, and it's no criticism of that. We went very quickly when we applied for all of these things. So we asked a bunch of people in 2 weeks to put together applications, literally 2 weeks to put together applications. And that wasn't enough. I used to say something when I was running the sales. Sometimes the best day of your life is when you get the order, and the worst day is when you get the order, because now you got to deliver, right? And so that's what happened. You got all these people that wanted these, but they didn't really know what they were going to have to do. So they got them. And then you see this many pages of stuff I've got to do, and you go, uh-oh. Now, guess what? The bigger projects, they know, because they had lawyers involved. They had people advising them as to what to do. So I don't want anybody to get discouraged. This is not abnormal, and we will slog through this. And if projects don't go forward, we have other projects to fund. And the priority is to keep the money here in the county, and that's what we're going to do. So that's our DRI update. I don't have any new business other than the things that we spoke about. So we can go from there, and I don't know, then Peter, do we need to go to executive session?
Anybody?
I think we're good.
Make a motion to adjourn,
So move.
Second.
vote,
Leo, I.
Ryan, I.
Bullseye.
Clifford, aye.
Raymond,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Stan, that's about as smooth as they get.
Wow, that's good.
Usually we'll have, seriously, the other half an hour is usually somebody will make a presentation on a pilot, and we'll have 2 or 3 things to consider specifically, but generally, I swear to God, we're out of here within an hour. So, I mean, like, it's pretty buttoned up agenda, and we would have been done sooner, but I talked too long.